I've been doing a bunch of videos on very new cars recently that depreciated a bunch in their first year. And today we're going to talk about 5 sleeper cars you could have bought in 2023 and here in 2024 have dropped by a ton of money. Let's get straight into it. Let's try and hit 1,000 likes on this video. Subscribe as well if you're new. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. I think as time goes by, sleepers are going to become pretty commonplace because of the advent of electric cars. The fact that you can get insane torque figures and immediate power delivery out of a car that's almost totally silent gives a lot of opportunity for basically any type of car to be ridiculously quick. I'm always astounded every year at the Goodwood Festival of Speed here in the UK just how many electric cars go up the hill that look entirely uninteresting but are absurdly fast, and I personally never expect it. A great example of this is the Genesis GV60 Sport Plus, an EV that puts out 483 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.9 seconds, which makes it the quickest car on the list. 10 years ago, 3.9 seconds to 60 would have matched the Audi R8 V10, and now you're getting it in an electric SUV. Ridiculous stuff. Brand new in 2023, this would have cost you around £67,500, and yet just a year later you can get those exact same cars, in many cases just with manufacturer discounts, not even second hand, for around £60,000, meaning a drop of £7,500 or 11.11% total. That's probably in part because Genesis isn't as established a brand here in the UK as it is elsewhere, but also it will be suffering at least in part from the skepticism around buying second-hand EVs here in the UK, which I'll talk about a little bit later on in this video. But Genesis are very quietly making some very nice cars at the moment, so though we can probably expect depreciation in these earlier models, I am interested to see what comes in the future. This car sits on the same platform as the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Kia EV6, but is a luxury compact crossover SUV version of those two cars rather than being in more budget categories. As it's in the luxury class, the interior is a really nice place to be, very clean in its design and typically futuristic in its vibe, kind of as you expect in EVs nowadays. One of those futuristic features is the Face Connect, which identifies who's driving the car and adjusts the mirrors, seat, steering wheel and infotainment accordingly, which is pretty cool. Next up we have another electrified car, but this time attached to a combustion engine. It's the Volvo V90 T8, which I believe had a midlife facelift recently that got rid of its old twin-charged powertrain in favour of a turbocharged one, though it's not hugely publicised. It's a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 engine which combines with that electric power to put out 448 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.6 seconds, mid-pack on this video, but still plenty of speed considering the looks. Brand new in 2023, you would have needed to spend around 60k to get into a base spec V90, but today we'll be looking at spending 50k at the bottom end, with plenty sitting at under the 55k mark. That means it's lost 10k in the space of a year, or 16.67% of its value, which is a fair bit, but compared to the next 3 cars in this list, it's a drop in the ocean. Volvo have an incredible history of making fast sleeper estate cars, including cars like the 850R, the V60 Polestar and the 740 Turbo. Many of these fast estates have ended up gaining some kind of cult classic status at some point in their lifetimes, but before reaching that status they have all dropped in price, as you might expect from a brand like Volvo. They're cars for everyone, so depreciation shouldn't be a surprise. I would suggest the same thing's happening with the V90 T8, as though there aren't many of them around second hand. Give it a few years and I'm sure they'll be hitting some lower prices. The V90 has a sister car, the S90, which is the saloon version, and whichever one you go for, in line with Volvo's usual aesthetics, they aren't shouty cars at all on the exterior. I think they're great looking cars no doubt, but they aren't aggressive, angular and clad in carbon fibre like some of their German counterparts. Again, for people who are into that kind of stuff, it makes them a little bit less enticing, which might further impact values when compared with the flairier M345i or AMG line E-classes. Lexus have always been good at putting a sleeper car together. As though their focus is on understated luxury in general, they aren't afraid of chucking an aggressive powertrain into their cars. That's very true when it comes to this, the RX 500h, a mid-sized luxury SUV that has a 2.4-litre turbocharged inline-4 engine combined with electric motor, which puts out 365 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6 seconds. So it's the slowest car on the list, but considering the size and looks of this car, I'm not sure you'd expect it to be faster than the turbocharged Jaguar F-Type to 60. It is the most expensive car on the list brand new though, starting at around £77,000 in 2023 for a base spec model. A year later, these are only around £57,000 at the bottom end instead, with many sitting at under £59,000. That means 20 grand lost in the space of just 1 year, or 25.97% gone, just like that. When you think about the older generation Lexus RX 450h and look at the prices of them, it's not surprising that these are losing value at a pretty decent rate. The first gen RX 450h is available at well under 10k, and it's not even that old. In 14 years of life, it's gotten down to around 5k at the bottom end. So with that as the backdrop for these cars, the RX 500h, however new, luxurious and efficient it is, there's no expectation that it should hold its value longer term. Crazily, this is actually the 5th generation, which is wider with a longer wheelbase than the 4th gen to give more space for passengers inside, even though it actually lost the 7-seater version, which has been moved across to the TX model instead. It comes in multiple specs, and the F-Sport performance does look quite mean, to be fair to it, but it's still very much a sleeper. I don't think you'd look at one of these and expect it to be putting out the performance it does. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video. If you are, then do hit the like button. As I said, let's try and hit 1,000 likes on it. Make sure you subscribe as well for 2 videos every single week. And let me know in the comments down below, would you rather have a car that looks fast and is fast, or a car that doesn't look fast and is fast? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. On to another EV now, which depreciated an absolute shed load in the space of the last year, the Polestar 2 Performance. Polestar are of course owned by Volvo and was originally a badge attached exclusively to the brand's most high performance cars, but now they have of course become their own electrified brand with a major focus on using sustainable materials in the build process. I've actually been in a few Polestar 2s, and personally I think they're pretty nice, particularly on the interior, which is a bit basic and simplistic, but that's in line with most Volvos if I'm completely honest. It is of course an EV which puts out 469 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.3 seconds. Brand new in 2023, you would have needed to fork out £58,000 to get yourself into one of these in performance spec, yet now you'll find them starting at around £37,000 at the bottom end, with plenty listed for around the 39k mark. That's an insane drop, £21,000 gone, or 36.21% of its value eroded in literally the space of a year. If we take that cheapest Polestar 2 as an example, that means it's lost more than £2.30 in depreciation per mile it's been driven, or it's lost around £57.50 per day, which is pretty mental. Imagine spending more than 50 quid a day just to own your car. Mental. Though it's called the Polestar 2, being the second car to come from the brand, it's the first mass-produced car, so it basically has to set the standard for depreciation for the brand. The Polestar 1 was a limited run hybrid, so it's a very different story all in with the two, though I suppose some of the depreciation can be learned from Volvo equivalents. Either way though, as I've mentioned in previous videos, as it's an EV, consumers have often been unwilling to buy them second hand, with fear over battery life only getting worse with age. On top of this, the tax benefits of owning an electric car have been eroded pretty significantly here in the UK, so the incentive to buy one secondhand has definitely decreased. Taking the top spot in this video, quite surprisingly because it has depreciated the most on this list, is this, the VW Arteon R. The reason why I say it's surprising is because it's the only car on this list that isn't an EV in any kind of way. It's not a hybrid, and it simply has an old school combustion engine. So all that guff I just told you about electric cars depreciating madly because of secondhand skepticism hasn't really been proven by this video, but whatever. That combustion engine is a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 which puts out 315 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.7 seconds, which is pretty decent for a family car. It wasn't a cheap family car though, as these started at around 60k in 2023 brand new, but today you'll find them listed for a minimum of around £34,500, and you'll find many of them sitting at or under the 37k mark from 2023. That means in just 1 year, this car has lost £25,500, or 42.5% of its value, which is genuinely insane. And what's strange is that the cheapest examples all in from 2021 have only just dipped below 30k. Clearly the Arteon R is a car that depreciates like crazy in its first year or two before settling down a bit, and knowing that's the case, why in the world would you buy one brand new unless you have money to burn? Well, to be fair, you would be getting arguably one of the best looking VWs on the market right now, at least in my opinion, especially in shooting brake spec, as those flowing lines, beefy bumpers and aggressive alloy alloys make for a lovely overall package. It's not the most well-known VW on the market, which might have added to that depreciation, but I think in time we'll see these gaining in popularity just simply because of how good they look. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. Massive thanks to the patrons for their support, and to you guys as well for watching. And if you want to watch a video on some depreciated hot hatchbacks, click up here and subscribe as well down here.